Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Particle Accelerator, where we talk to future thinking business leaders about how to accelerate their team and grow their business. I'm here today with Patrick. Patrick, would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I spent the last almost 20 years building and scaling sales systems, both for large organizations like Microsoft and SAP, but most recently as a fractional sales leader, helping startups find that repeatable process outside of their founder's Rolodex.
Yeah, that's great. Having a go to market expert is something that I think everybody could appreciate. Really excited to dig into that. But I'd like to get to know you better. Tell me, how did you make your first dollar? What was your first job? For me, it was a paper route when I was 13. What was it for you?
I was raised on a farm, if you can believe it or not. My parents immigrated from the Philippines. My dad's big American dream was to be a farmer, a rancher. And so
Awesome.
bought a plot of land. He was raising chickens, goats, cows, pigs. And so my very first dollar, I believe, was when we sold the cow. I got $100. All the
That's awesome.
school on the weekends, not enjoying friendships, working the farm.
What toy or hobby you had as a child inspired what you do career-wise today?
What toy or hobby? Just going back to growing up on the farm, it's a lot of sowing and reaping. I just understood that you don't get paid by the hour, you get paid by the effort you put in each hour. I think that's what aligned me more with sales and business development. Great question.
What was your favorite and least favorite course in school?
Favorite course in school? I would say it was computer programming in high school. I fell in love with just being logical and do loops and if then statements and things of that nature. So that was my favorite in high school. Least favorite, I'd have to say English. I knew how to start stories, but to come up with a conclusion and close it out, that was the hardest thing for me.
Yeah, I think Neil Stevenson would agree with you. He's one of my favorite authors, science fiction guy. And he was often criticized about his endings being poor. Like that part of the story just fell off. He talked at Google talking about that, how people say he's bad at endings. Even good authors might have a little trouble with the ending part.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. Cause I just love to let people hear where folks came from and where they're going to. You have some great accomplishments in your background. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to this place and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I grew up in sales. Actually went to school for computer science. I took one communications class and found that the same do loops and if then statements of, hey, if I smile at somebody, someone will smile back. If I say hello, someone would say hello back. And I was like, this is sweet. I think I want to transition from computer science to more of a business related degree. That's what started the genesis of me growing up within sales and then just trying to hone that craft. Fast forward today, I've worked with large Fortune 100 companies, but I've really found that these startups, the companies that just you feel a little bit less of a cog in the wheel and can make that immediate impact, those are the people that really need the help, want the help, and are willing to take outside advice.
Yeah. I've done 5 startups from start to exit, and I love the value add, like the just how many different areas you can impact a startup. You can help with operations, you can help with sales, you can help with product. As a startup, I'm usually a technical co-founder, and I just love being able to help. As you grow, then you have to specialize, silos start to form,
Mm.
and I always feel a little not insecure, but something close to that where man, I am only working in this one area. I'm not impacting so much. And yeah, it just feels different. So when you're working with a startup, how is the go to market different than if you're working with an enterprise company?
You're a no name. People don't know, people know the Microsofts and SAP, but they don't know the Torques and the top coders and the other smaller companies. You're fighting to be heard. You need to make yourself equal and then you got to make yourself different. It's a different play for sure.
Yeah. Oftentimes I hear people talk about red ocean, blue ocean. I'm sure you're familiar with the term. Have you helped some people go from red ocean, for those that haven't heard that term before, is like shark infested water. So lots of competition, very difficult to differentiate yourself. Blue ocean is like you're the only one in a broad sea. You feel very alone. And that can have certain drawbacks too, because you're in open water. You're probably trying to solve something nobody else has solved. How's some ways that you've seen people move from a red ocean market to a blue ocean market?
This takes me back to Open Sesame. days where I grew the business development team from one person to 21 globally. And yeah, you were competing against the big dogs that were out there, the gorillas, the Q-tips, that people don't get fired for choosing the Skillsofts of the world. But wait, who's Open Sesame? What are you all about? And so literally it was that campaign of, hey, we're the Skillsoft alternative. We're the people that you go to. That's changing the game. The market disruptor, the innovative product, right? You're always pushing the green, new shiny objects that are out there. And what are we doing outside the standard that isn't going to get you fired, but is actually going to get you a lot more efficiency, a lot more value for your buck?
Yeah, I also think that there's something that happens in the trajectory of a product. I definitely saw it happen with Salesforce. Salesforce was the CRM. You weren't going to get fired for using Salesforce. But then they got so powerful and so feature rich. It's like I have to have a Salesforce expert. I might need to hire a vendor to help me configure it. It just got so heavy. Then all of a sudden the pipe drives of the world and the pipeline and all these other little smaller CRMs started to pop up because they were just easier to use. And it was like the space that Salesforce once operated became replaced by just the out of the box lighter option.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you've seen similar trend or like sometimes it's worth competing against the big guy in a crowded space because you just hit the need more precisely.
Yeah, absolutely. Even with Salesforce being the system of truth, it's not very good when you're going to try an outreach to particular prospects and putting prospects into particular cadences. And that was the advent of the sales enablement platforms. So the sales lofts and outreach and grooves and revenue.ios of today. But even now, those are considered old age products. And you're seeing new products like Common Room and Regi.io come out that have that specific use, that maybe have that specific AI agent that they're leveraging to get you that much more precise with whatever task you're looking to get taken care of.
What kind of innovations are you seeing that are helping you drive your business growth?
Yeah, I've heard it on your previous episodes. If someone isn't saying anything AI related, it must be living
Sure.
under a rock.
Yeah, I'm over it. We're just going to talk about it on every podcast. That's the way it's going to be. But I'm curious about how you're seeing it get uniquely used in the coding world. They're starting to use it in marketing, like vibe marketing now. And I have some thoughts about that. But what are you seeing and how are you feeling about AI in your
Yeah,
business?
for me, it was always about scale. If I can get a team of 5 to do what a team of 20 were doing, awesome. I was implementing and leveraging Chat GPT and just other automation tools to get out there, just mass prospect people that then had quite a bit of failure in that place. I'm not personalizing. I'm coming off as tone deaf. This is not great at all. But fast forward to now, people are leveraging AI to better personalize with how they approach prospective clients, to better prep them for the client meetings, to just provide better value to their prospective clients before they meet, after they meet. That's with where it's at.
Yeah.
Not to use it to just mass email or mass message people. Those AI SDRs are crap. Stay away from those. That's going to ruin your domain. It's going to ruin your name out in the marketplace. But the specific tools that your reps are still being engaged and involved with, they're leveraging it as a co-pilot as opposed to the autopilot. That's what I'm betting on. That's what's driving my business forward. That's what I'm pushing everybody towards.
Yeah. We're helping a client right now with speed to lead. Maybe think of a gym and you have leads coming in. Hey, I'm interested in a membership. An AI on the website, an AI that's answering the text message that says, what questions can I answer? I need to know how much a membership costs. If I want to quit, how can I get out of it? There's oftentimes some questions that if I can get them answered, then I'll book my first demo appointment or trial demo or whatever that is. And so we've been helping a couple customers. Every small business should have an AI agent on their website that answers basic buying questions at 12 o'clock at night and then books that meeting with you to talk to the person. And we've had some older customers of this particular client, some of the, hey, I really like Timmy. He's great. Yeah, Timmy's AI. Timmy doesn't work here. I don't think we dropped that on them quite hard, but just the idea that they were actually connecting personally with the agent and got them to the meeting with the business owner to figure things out. We're seeing that impact wedding planning, catering, you might be seeing something similar.
Yeah, when we enabled a chatbot a number of years back for one of my clients, that was a game changer. We saw the conversion rates go from 50% to 80%. And you could absolutely train that chatbot with all of your assets, all of your materials to get it just as knowledgeable as any entry level inbound rep that's human.
Yeah.
We definitely called it out. We specifically wanted to say, hey, this is a bot, but I'm just as knowledgeable as a human. But if I can't answer your questions, Bobby will be available. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. In the marketing field or in your go-to-market, where are you seeing that? So I heard you say, okay, we're not going to go spray and pray with a pseudo personalized. I've definitely seen those played with it where I go pull down the LinkedIn profile, I go pull down the website, then I put a prompt in there that has my cold email theory, and now I can spray and pray a personalized cold intro. It still doesn't seem like cold is really working at all, even if you do personalize. But that third door strategy, where are you seeing that be worth implementing, or are you still reticent?
I'm not sure if you've heard of clay.com. It's helping with automating workflows and doing a lot of the manual work a human would have to do. We're leveraging it on one of my clients' websites where we're leveraging a tool to de-anonymize traffic, find out who's on the pages, who's reading the blogs, who's interacting with our services page, who's in that research phase of what they're looking to do, not wanting to buy yet. De-anonymized it, passed it over to Clay. I've built a particular workflow where it jumps on, it finds out what their domain is, searches for jobs, careers that are related to what my client sells, pulls that up, pulls the job, cleans up the job description, pulls out the keywords, feeds that into a dynamic field, passes it over to a sales loft campaign. We templatize the first few emails. Are those automated emails that just go out without a hitch? No. I have a human behind it that will make sure that the person who jumped on our website is part of the buying committee. Is that someone that we should reach out to, or is that an individual contributor looking for a job or something else and would be tone deaf to say, hey, I saw you have a systems engineer role. Are you the right person? And this guy's a janitor, right? So there's quite a bit that we're leveraging right now on the AI side of things, both for the inbound process, but also for outbound, for retargeting ads and things of that nature.
Helping with de-anonymizing the visitor that's interacting with your brand and moving from that discovery phase into building the relationship and moving the relationship down the road.
When you think about it, if you're outbounding, most people are trying to build that audience by company size, industry, all right, level of influence, what function, and everyone's personalizing to that. Everyone's building their audience around that. But the pros are going beyond that and saying, let's see if their engineering team has been growing in the last 6 months, if anything's been added to their GitLab. Let's look and see if they've started to implement new technologies. And then that's just showing some indication and intent around there. Can be automated. That's where we're using AI to help with some of that automation and cutting down that research phase from weeks to honestly hours and minutes, while still using the human side of it all to actually personalize and to keep the AI from hallucinating.
That buyer intent now has way more data signals than ever. Why reach out to somebody if they don't have intent? Because then you're just burning the email, potentially harming your brand. But if you have a signal that they need you and you're hitting them closer to that awareness of their need and readiness to buy, it's just going to be totally optimized. You won't risk muddiness in your sales process.
Absolutely.
What kind of gaps do you see between the realities of today and your digital ambitions?
Honestly, I think the biggest gap isn't so much the tech, it's really the adoption. I've rolled out some great tools in the past. The salespeople have sold me on their tool, but at the end of the day, and I'm sure you see it with what you do, most teams only utilize 5-10% of what that tool's capability is. And it ends up being shelfware. So for me, the biggest gaps isn't so much the tools itself, but the training, the storytelling, the building of internal trust and the actual adoption of the said tools within those organizations.
Yeah, I totally agree. We enter into an arrangement with a tool for a very precise problem, but then we don't really lean in and adopt that tool to the point where it's truly covering all that it could do. We work with a lot of smaller clients. When we work with a smaller client, one of the first conversations we have in CTO advisory is, all right, let's look at your subscriptions. More often than not, we find overlapping tools. We'll see two different PSA tools, project management solutions. We'll see Microsoft Office license and Google Workspace licenses. Like almost always, we see overlapping tool sets without a real clear plan of, okay, why do you have this and this? In software programming, we call it lava flow, where somebody left the organization and so all their code tracks are there, but the next set of developers went in a different direction. So you have like dead solutions in there. So oftentimes we can save people some money by getting clarity there. You have HubSpot, but you're also paying for a social scheduler. You don't realize that HubSpot can schedule your social media posts.
That's exactly what I do. Every client I do a tech stack audit. There's auto schedulers that are built into SalesLoft, and then they have Calendly, and then they've reached out and got Chili Piper. They've got conversation recorders that are built into their sales engagement platform, but they've ended up picking up Gong as well. There's quite a bit to be condensed.
What are some challenges that, other than the adoption, are there any other challenges that you're running into or facing? If you could wave your wand and there'd be something that existed that would solve a significant problem, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, good question. For me, to be completely candid, it is the adoption piece, training the team, training the folks how to best utilize the platform to its 100% of its ability. Once I get the plan in place, that's where I spend 70 to 80% of my time with clients, enabling their teams to leverage the tools they've selected. I've got a client right now that's about to roll out Salesforce and also another sales enablement platform to people who are literally in the Stone Age. They don't even know what a CRM is, have never even leveraged it whatsoever. You can buy the tool, spend your hundreds of $1,000s on the tool, but if you don't have your team understanding the reason, the why, and why it's going to benefit them and how to leverage it appropriately, you've just wasted your money and now you're stuck in a 3-year contract, 5-year contract, or whatever.
Yeah.
So that, for me, when I get brought on, that's probably one of the biggest reasons companies will leverage me to help with the sales enablement side of things.
Yeah, that's cool, especially if you can trim out the cruft from the overall stack and just the savings from trimming out and getting really clear on this is how the process is going to work. This is how we're going to get to your objective. It pays for you to be involved just by creating that little bit of let's use this stuff and not that stuff. A lot of times you can have better service, less cost. And then that's the budget you can occupy. So now they've upgraded the level of expertise they have and talent internally. Plus, they've trimmed out some unnecessary resources. And so they're moving in a smarter future direction at less cost. It's a win-win for everybody. We also see a similar thing around adoption when we do RPA, robotic process automation projects. So there's usually a staff that in order to scale the business, that staff had to grow because data entry and digital work were involved. And then we're going to roll out a robot that replaces that human energy. Really, what's happening in closed door conversations is the goal is to reduce the level of staff needed, not at the current time. I don't think anybody's like, how can I fire people or how can I do layoffs? That's not really the intent, but they have aspirations to 2, 3x a product and the sales. And they're like, man, if I have to 2, 3x the staff, then what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And so we're building these robots and then so there's always this incentives conversation with the folks that feel like they're going to lose in this endeavor. And what we found is that if you tell those folks that, hey, you're still responsible for quality, you're still at the center of this process. And guess what? We're going to incentivize you off of the total throughput of the system. So you're going to share in some of this upside. Maybe that's how their bonus is going to be structured or something. Then all of a sudden we start to get some participation because we say, hey, you're going to tell us everything that the bot does wrong and you're still going to be responsible for quality. And typically they love that because then they'll just complain about everything that the bots do wrong, which allows us to have feedback and make them better. Maybe you see some similar things when you're overcoming adoption.
100%. Had a client that thought that just throwing bodies at a problem was going to solve it. And gosh, again, inventive AI, automation, I think of scale, there's got to be better ways of doing it, right? So let's just document the process, figure out where the problems are, where the bottlenecks are, and let's see if we can throw a robot at it instead of 10 more bodies. What they found was that As they were increasing the headcount of that team, the actual efficiency level was going down. And they're like, wait a minute, we're getting this number of MQLs. That should have gone up with the increase of headcount. Why is it not? You've hit that wall, the ceiling. And so again, rather than throw an extra body, let's figure out where the efficiencies are. And yeah, if we could save some costs by not eliminating folks, but repurposing them to own that project, how much more could we make?
Yeah. And then there's a viable business going forward, right? If throwing bodies at the problem solved it, then also like those folks have more people to manage. There's so much to scaling human capital has stoic risk.
Oh, yeah. When I was a manager of people for an organization, I spent 60 to 70% of my day dealing with the people problems as opposed to the company problems. How do you focus on what's going to focus on the human, focus on the person? They matter. But at the end of the day, focus on the actual business problem itself.
What's a lesson that you've learned from an initiative that failed to deliver expected value?
Yeah, it's a common thread of what we said earlier. I once launched a sales engagement platform that checked every single box. It would send emails at prospects into particular cadences, make sure they followed up on time, or reps would follow up on time. It had built-in templates and snippets. In the ideal state, if people used it, it would have at least 10x people's productivity. They could spend more time focusing on deals closest to the money, on closing, and reduce the amount of time on their prospecting. I learned early on, you've got to involve the end user early because adoption was super low. We didn't pilot test it out appropriately. We, from the top down, did all the naming conventions inside the CRM. People were confused. We didn't build out a particular process. It's one of those early lessons where I'm glad I learned it then so that I can apply it moving forward. Involve people early. Adoption's key. That's it.
Yeah, I think we feel the same. Early in our history as a company, we had a couple of projects that were big bang projects, like tons of requirements. All the design was finished. They followed more of a waterfall structure. Quickly, we learned that we got to break it into bite-sized chunks and deliver some kind of result early that actually changes their business. And if we do that, we're going to be long-term partners. Most business owners have done a home purchase or a remodel. And so they understand what I call more like civil project management, where it's okay, establish blueprints, you review those, you choose your materials, you remodel the kitchen, and then you move in. Software and digital things are so much different. They're more like, how about we just put in your sink and you make sure you like it? And then we'll move to the stove and make sure you like it. And eventually we'll get to the backsplash. The agility of that is so interesting because I don't really like this sink. Okay, cool. We can modify that. And you're not locked into anything so that we reduce this potential for buyer's remorse. All those big bang projects usually have this buyer's remorse where as customers start interacting with the product, they have different feedback. They had different things in mind. And if you didn't listen to them, then you didn't hit it right.
Yeah, 100%. Pilot program, build the internal champions, let them provide the feedback, make adjustments from there. Absolutely. From implementing tools in-house, must. It's an absolute must.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, is there anything, the audience here is future thinking business owners, right? They're all people that care about go to market. Is there any wisdom that you would definitely share with them before we move on?
One of the things I find myself doing every week, and I hate doing it, but I enjoy doing it, is taking calls with just the different vendors, the different technology that's out there. The landscape is moving fast and it's getting crazy. And one tool that never be locked into one particular tool and just be a fanboy or fangirl of that particular tool, because there's some other things that are just, they're going to take advantage of AI in such a completely different way that you didn't even think was possible because you were a fangirl of another product. You just refuse to see, and it's going to take off. I take calls with different vendors regularly. I schedule a small portion of my week every week just to hear about the different technologies and what's coming out there and to keep abreast with the industry and what they're are doing to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think whenever I'm working with clients on CTO advisory, it's always this idea of build, buy, or partner. And let's face it, most of us just we're going to partner with a bunch of different vendors. But I think the skills required for good partnering, this like partner relationship management, is often overlooked. I don't like the partner, I'm just going to replace the partner. But yeah, having that call with your partners is saying, hey, what's on your roadmap? And making sure to be a talented complainer, right? Hey, we're using your tool, but this isn't efficient for us. Most vendors will want you to influence their roadmap. It might take 3 months, it might take 6 months, but I think there's something there about managing your partners well. Obviously, if you're going to build something, you need to have innovation as a skill. If you're going to buy something, you need to have diligence as a skill. We understand how skilled buyers and builders need to be, but we don't often think, what do I need to be the best partner to my vendor? So I love that. I love that point. That's really good. If people like what you've had to share today, how would you like them to connect with you?
Sure. People can absolutely connect with me on LinkedIn or check out the website, santiagoexecutivesolutions.com. It's currently under construction right now, but hopefully there won't be too much dust and filth all over the place, but it's a great place to connect.
Awesome. Cool. And then who is your ideal connection? Who ideally do you want to be talking to right now?
Yeah. Who particularly reaches out to me, wants to make that connection are CMOs, COs, folks that they've built out a process that has worked in the past, but need that extra oomph in regards to the outbound prospecting side of things.
Thanks so much for being here today. I think everybody should get a lot of value out of this conversation.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to staying connected and learning more from their podcast.
Awesome.